Hi, year five. So we're on the final chapter now, and as well as your paragraphs, again, I have written, as well as explanation for your paragraphs, I have also written my own version, or a little bit of my own version, to talk through with you. Now, in your explanation of paragraphs, I've kept it quite vague this time because it really depends what your story was about. I can't tell you how to end your story unless I know what your story was about. Um, so I've said paragraph one. Perhaps your character's feeling a bit edgy after all of that experience with the villain. Um, Even though now, hopefully, things are okay and sorted out in some way in your last chapter, still you'd be feeling a little bit edgy, and that's probably how your character's feeling. Um, so, because of what has happened, it's hard to say what your character will now be doing. But my character is now in the countryside or walking to with Sally to their countryside place. So it's going to need lots of description, I think, in paragraph one. Paragraph two, more description, but this time a bit about the person who they're with. So someone has rescued them in some way and taken them somewhere safe, or they're going somewhere safe. So who's the main character that they're with? For me, it's Sally. And then paragraph three will be sort of summing it up a little bit, sort of how everything's going to be okay, looking forward to the future maybe, and that sort of thing. And that's where it will end. Or you might have a paragraph four as well, depends on your story. So I've got some pictures there to help you to think about sort of Victorian, nice, happy Victorian people, maybe going to the beach somewhere and so on. I'm not quite sure if that's quite Victorian. That looks a bit earlier, that picture there. Okay, so I started my chapter one. Jack had never left London before. So he's on his way to the countryside and it's a whole new experience. And if you imagine that you've been living in this sooty, dusty, smelly, noisy city, and then suddenly you're starting to go out of the city towards the countryside. He was used to the sound of horses' hooves and the clatter of wheels lulling him to sleep each night. Lying on hay, which Sally had gathered into a heap for him, so we've got a relative clause, he listened to complete silence, broken only by loud birdsong. He found it unnerving. So some people might say it's a nice sound compared to the clattering of wheels on the cobblestones and so on, but actually it's unusual. And when something's unusual, it makes you feel a little bit nervous. So he found it unnerving. And it's a short sentence there to give it a bit of tension. Would Albie find them there? He started pacing around the barn, disturbing Sally, who suggested they continue their journey to her cousin. So it's explaining where they're going. I'm glad it happened, she said, smiling. It was the encouragement I needed to go home. I think that should be a capital letter. Okay, so I'm on my second paragraph, and here I want to describe Sally a little bit. So now he's thinking about Sally. He's saying, back in the lodging house, Sally. Oh, what happened there? Sally had appeared kind and smiley, but now that they were walking along the tracks within the woods, I feel like I need to describe the woods a little bit. So, this is quite a long sentence. I'll check it when I've finished and make sure it needs to be. Back in the lodging house, Sally had appeared kind and smiley, but now that they were walking along the tracks within the woods, so that's a parenthesis there between commas, within the woods, within the luscious woods, they're very green and luscious. That means they're growing really well. Within the luscious woods, she seemed so relaxed. I feel like this might need some editing afterwards. And carefree. I could improve the language a little bit. She seemed so relaxed and carefree. It was as if Her whole body had taken a deep gulp of happiness. So I'm trying to describe how, although she was a nice person before, she's now becoming more her true self. She feels comfortable. She grew up in the countryside and she's feeling like she's finally somewhere she feels comfortable. She's finally home. So he's thinking about that as he watches her. And so I'm describing my second character there. You might have someone else with you. They might have a sister with them or something from throughout your story. So yours might be a little bit different. But it's important that you spend some time describing that person. You spend some time describing where they are, and then you'll need to spend some time describing where they're going to and what they're going to do and how they're going to live for the rest of their life, or certainly for the next year. Okay, so I look forward to seeing your final chapters. I've been really enjoying reading all your work. So good luck writing it and have fun.